nicest thing to see is the kids who are making the lime cookies from the recipe at the back of the book and posting, parents are sharing photos on social media and seeing these kids holding the book and holding their tray. There was one boy in particular holding his tray of lime cookies, and he's just got this most excited look on his face, and it's so cute to see. I really enjoyed that. I'm Sophia Payne. I'm the author of Faruq and the Wiri Wiri, illustrated by Sandia Prabat. This story is about a little boy, Faruq, who is really passionate about food. He really wants to be a chef. He watches his Aji cooking every day for the family, but Aji has different ideas. She says, no Faruq, you're going to be a doctor like your father. So he goes outside all deflated and he meets his neighbour, Mrs. Joseph, and he actually creeps into her kitchen every day and learns to cook with her. And then one day when Aji is too ill to cook the family feast, Faruq steps up and says, I can do it. And it's really about his journey, about learning to follow his dreams, follow his passion, and also prove to his family that he can do it. So something that we did when our kids were very young, and we still do now, is rather than just following a recipe and telling them what ingredients we're going to use, we would actually ask the question and say, right, think of a meal that you like pasta bolognese, and we would then say, what do you think goes into that recipe? What makes this dinner red, for example? And then Willow would say, oh, the tomatoes that go into it. And then when I'm cooking pasta bolognese, what's the first smell that you recognise? And then she would think about it and say, oh, it's roasted garlic or onion. And then so for us, we found as parents, that really helped our kids to think about all the different ingredients and how they connect in different recipes and how that ingredient also works in that other recipe. So Sandy has done such a beautiful job of illustrating this book. There's so many foods in it. But something that we did as parents as well is, you would look at a particular ingredient, and let's say the Wiri Wiri, and we would ask our kids, like, where do you think this grows? Is it a hot climate or is it a cold climate? And then they would answer a hot climate, and we would then say, what else grows in a hot climate, or what other foods are similar to that foods, and really start to ask questions to help a child link the different foods together with different countries and then different flavours and different recipes. And I think that really helps our kids to have a much broader mind when it comes to food and cultures. So I think one of the obvious questions in this book is about why Aji tells Faruq that he has to be a doctor like his father. And I think that's a really interesting starting point to have that conversation about why does his grandma have this expectation on him, and where has that come from? Is this something that is going through from generation to generation? How might we change that expectation? How might he break away from this idea of what he needs to be, what his grandma's idea of what he needs to be when he grows up? So when I was writing this story, it was really important for me to have a recipe in there that children can kind of go away and make at home. And I have a really strong memory of making peanut butter cookies, actually, funny enough, with my sister when I was a kid. And it was so fun to make, but I wanted to make a cookie recipe that felt more Guyanese. So I scoured the internet and I found Guyanese lime cookies, using limes which are much more Guyanese than peanut butter, for example. And so we tested these recipes, and we made so many batches of lime cookies until we could get it absolutely right. And then, so that's where the recipes really come from. We've been raised that food is very central to our family. It's always been so important to us to share meal times together. And one of my strongest memories of my Guyanese family and all my cousins and aunties and uncles is every time we would go across, most of them live in America now, we would go across to America for a wedding or whatever, and as soon as we would land and get to their house, they would have a whole spread of Guyanese curry and roti and a chow all laid out for us. And even though for us it would feel like 3 a.m. and we've just been travelling for 10 hours, we would all sit down and have this big family meal together. And as an adult, I've started to realise that the food has very much brought us together in that way. It's been the real expression of love in our family. One of my favourite ingredients is actually quite recently that I've discovered, which is casserole, which is this when I was in Guyana, we went to the market and you buy cassoulet that's homemade and it comes in this recycled Coca-Cola bottle, and it's this black, thick, tar, sticky, gooey substance that when you're pouring it, you're like, what am I pouring into my dinners? But it's got this amazing flavour, and we use it actually in the cook-up rice and to marinate chicken, and it's absolutely incredible. I really, really want readers to have that love and that passion for food that we have as a family. Food is so important to us, and I really wanted to inspire people to try new flavours and try new recipes from other cultures. But also, equally as important is that idea that children don't have to be the person that their parents or grandparents expect them to be, and to be confident enough to be individual, and maybe to break away from family traditions of, the boys have to do this, the girls do this. And this is something that was very, very important to me at the very start of writing this story, was that, because I could hear my own grandma saying, oh, boys don't need to cook. And I think, that's, why not? Why can't boys cook? So RG in this book is very much my own grandma. She has that kind of fierce determination and idea of what children should be or shouldn't be, which every time I was writing RG's speech, I could hear my own grandma. And then Faruq is sort of largely based upon a mixture of my cousins. Faruq is actually the name of one of my cousins as well. But it's not about him, it was just I borrowed his name, but I based it on my memory of my cousins growing up. I think the biggest challenge with this story was I wanted the food, the ingredients, everything to sound authentic, but obviously I wanted it to also be relatable, so I struggled to try and decide which recipes or which foods were going to be mentioned, things like the cook-up, that sounded authentic enough that people would say, oh yeah, that's Guyanese, I relate to that, but also for people who hadn't heard of those ingredients and those foods would also know what they were. So it's trying to find that balance. Caribbean food always brings up this image of very spicy food, but that's not, there are Caribbean dishes that don't include chilies, and there's such a variety of dishes out there. I would just say to start easing gently, and remember that recipes don't have to be exactly as you see them on page. You can adapt them if you want your curry or whatever to be more mild, add coconut milk or coconut cream, or if you want to exclude an ingredient or make it vegetarian, just remember that cooking is about that freedom to express and to match your own tastes and your own flavours. You don't have to follow a recipe exactly. So I am a real believer that children should eat the same as adults, and we somehow along the way, as a society, we seem to have decided that kids just need to eat chicken nuggets and chips or whatever, and they can't try new flavours, and I don't agree with that. And I think that the danger is that when you believe that you're being told that children don't eat mustard or chilies or prawns, then somehow we end up trying to con our children into eating these vegetables and try and trick them. And I see a lot of recipes that are aimed at parents, for young children, saying, oh, it's got hidden vegetables. And I don't believe that we should hide these things, because when you're hiding vegetables in your bolognese, you're sort of subliminally and subconsciously giving the message to that child that there's something wrong with that ingredient. And actually I think that if we can change the narrative so that children are excited to try new flavours, rather than thinking, you're trying to con me here into eating something that I shouldn't be eating, I think that overall you kind of steer away from picky eaters and children being suspicious of different foods, and actually to being excited for them. This is why this book as well is so important to me, is because it's showing a young boy who, why wouldn't he like cook up, or all the things that they eat at the family table. On publication day, I woke up feeling very, very confused, because I wasn't instantly really excited and joyous, and I felt really, really nervous. I was really scared. So I came downstairs, and my friend had put up bunting with the Wiri Wiri and some leaves you've made it all like tropical looking, and it really was heartwarming, and it really did help to kind of break me into this kind of out of this bad mood and into this more excited mood. And I went, right, that's it, we're going to put on some music. We put on some soca music, and we basically danced around the kitchen the whole day, and we ate Caribbean food, and then we went, we pre-planned to go bowling and to go out for an Indian meal, just so that we had something to look forward to. So it made it more special, and it was really special. And we took the book with us, and we took photos of the book, like at the bowling hall, which is totally not relevant to the story, but it was still good fun.